voice mood. Here I am. How are you? It's me, Olivia Peck, your local millennial voice teacher, and today we are answering your singing questions from the week. So if you have a singing question, go ahead and drop it in the chat or the comments, and I will do my best to answer your questions as a voice teacher. Yes. I've been a voice teacher for about 10 years, and I love helping people learn how to sing because it's the best. No, but a lot of people, they just want to not feel so embarrassed when they sing. They want their partner to say, "Hey, that was really good, babe." Or they just want to sing at karaoke. They want to bring the house down. So this is what I do. These are my people. Also, a lot of singer-songwriters want to be able to play their music, and this is a big thing. So, if you're a singer-songwriter, chime in, let us know what you are working on, and we'd love to hear from you. Okay, so we're going to get right into it, talk about our questions from the week. And today we are definitely going to talk about vowels, singing vowels, because my last video was on singing vowels. Yes, it is different than regular schmegular speaking vowels. Actually, did you know that? So, for instance, the way that I'm speaking right now, I am using my lips, tongue, jaw, and soft palate in a certain way. But when I sing, I have to have control over my lips, tongue, jaw, and soft palate so that I can make a different shape with with all those things, with my vocal tract essentially, which is our instrument as singers. It's kind of weird to think about, but it's true. So our voice is our instrument essentially. And when you think about any instrument, it has a shape to it, and that contributes to the way it sounds. And so, literally, the way that we shape our mouth and our tongue, it all contributes to that. Another thing that contributes to our sound is just the way we're built. So, all the little spaces on the inside of our head, ew, but it's true, shapes the way that you sound. Your vocal folds. Miley Cyrus, classic example of someone with a raspier voice. She actually has a bump on her vocal folds, and she could get it removed, but she didn't because she didn't want to risk, you know, getting an injury from the surgery. And, it's how she's built. She has a bump on her vocal cords. We're all different. We're all different. So, there's some talking about that in my latest video about vowels, and I'll go ahead and show this picture to you guys. This is the vocal tracts, awesome photo of what that looks like. So this shows you, the tongue and everything. The tongue is actually huge. It's a huge muscle. And if you see above the tongue, it says air. Okay, look at the little skin above that. You see the lips. And then if you keep going further back, that's the soft palate. This is from voicescienceworks.org. And that's a really great website if you want to check out more regarding voice science. I really, really like that website, and I give my stamp of approval. So I really like that website. They talk about vowels. They talk about how sound is created basically with your air. Yes. All right. But when we talk about, okay, so what do you mean exactly vowels shaping your sound? Well, it is all in my latest video, but I will say that someone did want me to go into more detail on this. Check it out. At Bad Boys Don't Fear, great name, by the way. This was very helpful. I'm struggling with this. A longer explanation would be awesome. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about what exactly I mean by jaw, tongue, soft palate, and vowels. All right. So let's go through this. Let's say I'm singing a song like the Star Spangled Banner. Great example. I always use the Star Spangled Banner. But there's speaking, oh, say, can you see? And then there's singing vowels. Oh, say, can you see? Right? Oh, they're taller vowels. They are my jaw and my tongue are a little bit more relaxed, but there's something I didn't talk about in my last video, and that's the back of the tongue specifically. If you can gain control over the back of your tongue, we're in business, okay? Because a lot of times, yes, your mouth shape does matter, but what is really important is the shapes you can make in the back. And here's a good picture of that. So you'll see the tongue here. Now, the I on the very top left, that's actually E. These are Italian cardinal vowels, so it's pronounced differently. So think Italian for a minute. So instead of I, it's E. The one on the top right, the U, that's actually pronounced ooh. These are the things we talk about in opera school, okay? But it's applicable to what we're talking about right now. So you learn how to control the back of your tongue and the middle of your tongue and the front of your tongue, but especially the back. You can see how much it changes depending on what vowel you're doing. Here's how you can actually work on something like that. So, when you do your vocal warm ups, you want to watch yourself in the mirror and watch your jaw and the tip of your tongue. If your jaw is moving quite a bit, little bit of a red flag, okay? It's okay if it's open and relaxed and you're opening it a lot, but if it's jutting forward or it's like moving while you're doing vibrato, or if you are like clenching, that's not a good sign. So you actually want to relax your jaw like as if you just went to the dentist. Blah, 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 blah. And you want the front of your tip of your tongue for the most part to be forward. If your tongue is sliding back, I'll show you what it sounds like. I'm like kind of honestly like choking myself a little bit with my tongue. Like, you know that if somebody passes out, you have to make sure their tongue doesn't slip back because your tongue is a huge muscle and it does slide back. It might be because you're trying to protect your voice or hear yourself. There's lots of reasons why we have tongue tension. We use our tongues a lot when we speak for certain languages. So it's something you have to kind of unlearn and really practice watching and making sure your tongue is, for the most part, pretty relaxed. There's exceptions. To everything, there's always going to be exceptions. Your tongue is so big and is such a muscle that sometimes, if you have a larger tongue, or in some cases, if you stick your tongue too forward, what happens is it brings these muscles up a little bit, and that can also cause tension. So, of course, there's a reverse situation where you could be sticking out your tongue too much. Sometimes with tenor students, typically, I don't know, it's typically tenors, but it could be really any voice type. If they're sticking their tongue out a little too much, really in their high voice, I'll say, "Hey, check in with your tongue and maybe don't stick it out quite so far because it might be bringing up your larynx and all these muscles up a little bit and causing some tension." That would be just something to think about. So it's not like it's always like really forward all the time. It's just usually you want it to be more forward. Try it. Try singing with your tongue more relaxed. You want it to really be like you're barely using your tongue, like you might even have a lisp a little bit when you're first starting to try that. Extremes are good because you get to feel that sensation. So the purpose of changing your vowels and your tongue like that when you sing is it's changing the sound, it's creating the space you need to sing. If your tongue's in the way, it's an issue. Anyway, but it's going to be a different shape or level up, I guess, in the back, depending on what vowel it is. So if you say it is more flat in the back. So, all right. So we were talking about warm ups and I kind of went off on a tangent. So if you're doing a warm up and you're watching yourself in the mirror, you want your jaw to be pretty relaxed. You want your tongue to be a little bit forward, usually. And you want to watch your tongue, make sure it's not sliding back. And you're really, opening your mouth when you sing. If you're not really opening your mouth when you sing, it might be because you have a little bit of tension or because you're just not used to opening your mouth that much. Most of us don't really talk with opening our mouth that much. So you might have to get in that habit a little bit. Shake it up. Okay? And if you have any questions, y'all, go ahead and drop them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer. Okay? I know it's back to school, so things are like really crazy right now. People are rushing around. I've had some new students and some students, whose schedules just changed. So everything's like being flipped around right now because that's just what happens at this time of year. So it's exciting, but it's always a big, fun change in the fall. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. So, what else are we going to talk about today? There's so many things. My next video, I will tell you, is about practicing, so that'll be really fun. I think like one of the most common questions I get is what exercises should I do for this? And as a teacher, what I strive for is really to teach people how to teach themselves. Like, I want to tell you everything I know, and hopefully, you'll be able to take what you know and figure out, okay, this is my issue. This is the thing that I need to get better at, as opposed to always having to get someone to tell them what to do. So anyways, it starts that way. It starts that way where I can lay it all out for you and tell you exactly what to do. And then eventually you start to teach yourself because you're like, I understand this and I understand my voice, stuff like the vowel thing. There's different levels to stuff like that. So for instance, it starts out where my students might not know what the different vowels feel like. But then they're able to go, oh, I like this vowel. Oh, I need to modify this vowel as I get higher. Or a very common thing for me is I need to relax my jaw. So I'll always check in with that. There's just little things that get more advanced as you go on, just naturally, because you just become more knowledgeable, become more confident. So much of it is becoming more confident. When you're taking lessons or doing anything a lot, you're going to become more confident because it's just becoming more normal and comfortable for you. Even if you're not on Broadway or on the stage all the time, things just become more natural. I'll give you an example. So, a lot of individuals, when they first start singing, don't really want to open their mouth that much because it feels really awkward. Like, it feels physically awkward to open your mouth more when you sing. But when you watch singers on TV and stuff, they're really opening their mouth. So it's not weird or anything, but it's an adjustment for someone to do that. But after, a month of lessons or something, it's really not a big deal anymore at all. And this person is able to focus on something else after that sort of thing. So I guess all that's to say is there's the basic things, which I'll talk about in this week's video, that become normal. Okay, opening my mouth or breathing a certain way or whatever it is. And once that becomes normal, that stuff becomes more automatic and you can focus more on expression or different styles that you want to try out or some just stuff that's more advanced, and that's when it gets really fun. And it's amazing how much confidence you can get in a short time just from doing something a lot, really. So, anywho, yeah, glad y'all are here. I love answering y'all's questions, especially vowels technique. It can be such a game changer when you change just one little thing. You change one little vowel. Today, someone realized that, oh, I can just relax my tongue and my jaw more, and it's like a whole new world. I have students where they've been trying to break through something for a long time and they have that light bulb moment just because they let it marinate for a while, and there you go. Anyway, so that's what we'll be talking about this week. And here's a little picture of the practice journal that'll be coming out this week with singing goals, warm up routine, practice steps. And then there will be a little section for journal pages so you can track your progress. And people ask me, oh, so how long should I practice? That's going to depend on you and your goals. I would say if you're a beginning singer, I would start with 15 minutes full blown singing, max probably, and then build up to about a half hour. There's a lot of stuff you can do when you practice that doesn't even involve singing. It'll be just listening or, doing very mild singing or speaking a song in rhythm, that sort of thing. That all counts as practice and all helps you sing better. So that's what I recommend. I am big on conserving your voice because most of us are not perfect when we sing, and we're going to strain every once in a while or just get tired. Like, it's our body. So to kind of maximize your progress, I would say don't sing full out all the time and be aware of how much you use your voice so that you can be efficient and actually productive in your practice so you grow quicker and you're just happier with your voice sooner, you know? And speaking of being happier with your voice, so there's a really common theme among all of us, trying to sing, and most people struggle with the way they sound or want to sound different, or they'll kind of flip-flop with styles. This is like everyone. They'll try one style and then and two or three people actually this week asked me, what do I sound like or what should I sing? And I will tell you, most people don't know what they should sing because it's you. You know what I mean? It's like, when people say your friends know you better than you know yourself because they're looking at you from the outside. So that's why, lessons can be great. But that aside, if you're not sure what you sound like or what you should sing, try this combo. Seek out music that you like and makes sense to you with what feels good. Okay, so those two things. And then one more thing I would add is picking something that um is in your range. So that's quite the that's three criteria right there that you can start with. What It's a song you like, it's your vibe, it's in your range, and it feels comfy. A lot of time, people's style is something that they were influenced by since they were younger. You might not realize it, but think about your favorite music when you were 12 years old. Okay, that's a very important time in our life because we're so impressionable, and usually the music hits different when we're around that age. Think about the type of music you appreciated and that really hit you, maybe songs that you're still listening to this day. That might give you some insight as to what has influenced you as a singer and what you like. So something to think about. It's not like, oh, that's who you are as a singer, but it could have influenced the way you sing and maybe there's still a through line with what you appreciate now, but it's easier to look back and see what you liked at a certain time in your life than to look at yourself in the moment sometimes. So that's an exercise that I like to use, you know. And it's funny because my favorite singer when I was around that age was Nicole Nordman, I think her name was. No one knows who that is. If you do, please let me know. I love her. But it's so funny because when I grew up, I literally like what did her exact style, it seemed like, with the way I dressed and stuff, totally not intentional. And it was just an album cover I'm basing that off of. But it's just so funny how stuff when you're younger is so impactful to how you want to grow up and become when you are older. So anyway, let me know who your favorite artist was in the chat or the comments when when you're about 12. Like, what were you watching? What were you listening to? I want to know. I want to know. So yeah, but I would say nowadays I listen to a lot of different styles. But something that happens too once you kind of grow as a singer is you start out wanting to do this one thing. You're like, I want to be able to belt, or I want to be able to have vibrato or a stronger chest voice or less breathiness or more breathiness or a jazzy tone. You start with that. And then you kind of graduate to this new area where you're like, okay, I feel like I did that, or I feel like that's not as important to me anymore. Once you become a little more confident or just more comfortable in your voice just from trying all these different things, you start to go, oh, well, I like this aspect of my voice. And you kind of are comfortable with singing softer or doing things that you maybe never thought you would do. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that happen to anyone else or in any other aspects of your life? You start to you made it. Like you did the little goal that you had, and then you're like, okay, well, now I'm just gonna do something totally different. I don't know. Something to think about. Something to think about. Any questions you have about singing, though, let me know. I will answer them, or I will just be a yap marathon because that's kind of my thing. Love to yap about singing. Anything I can think of, pretty much. I'll tell you guys some of my video ideas, and you can tell me if they're good. I have a little list. Okay, so I was thinking about doing this practice video and then doing another video on finding your vocal range, which, by the way, I do have like a range test in my online course. Yes, I have a range test in my course. So, yes, I have a course. It's on Udemy, but it's in the description, whatever. So, range, I'll do maybe one on range because people do ask about range a lot. Maybe breathing. What do you think? People do wonder about breathing a lot. Like, am I breathing right? Breathing is such a fun but sometimes exhausting topic because it really can stress people out. A lot of people think they don't breathe right. So, anyway. All right. So, breathing. And then what else was I going to? Vocal range. Yeah. Oh, fun singing facts. Would that be a good video? Fun singing facts. I have a fun singing fact. This is a preview to what it would be. So, I've said this before, but did you know that Pavarotti would pretend that he was in pain when he was singing because he got more applause when he looked like he was in pain when he sang? I thought that was funny. Anyway, all right. Oh, so maybe like a series on how to be the full package, because there's a lot to singing. Like, I can't tell you how often social media comes up or presentation, dancing, acting. There's so much that also is a crossover with being a musician, especially if you're a performer. So I hardly ever get the chance. It's always about technique on this channel, I feel like, but it would probably be good to do a video on, you know, stage presence or doing your own music production. I do have so any basic stuff that I use, and then some other little things I put like my products that I approve of in my description on my website and everything. They're affiliate links, but there's stuff that I pick out. It's not like anybody's paying me like to advertise them or anything. It's just if you click on it, then I get like 50 cents or whatever, probably less than that. Anyway, so music terms. This one's great. Like, would you like to know some music terms? Do a video on that? There's so many, and I always I feel kind of bad when I say something and people don't know what I'm saying. I just feel like it's useful to have some sort of glossary or something to talk about what these words mean. A big one that people are curious about obviously is like the chest mix head voice, but I think there's other stuff we can talk about as well. Also have a question. Let me know in the comments if you're a singer who's also interested in learning piano, ukulele, guitar, and anything like that. Are you a singer that plays another instrument? How has it helped you or hindered you? How do you navigate that? I'd love to know, especially musicians who started on another instrument. Let me know. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about singing, and I will do my best to answer. It's been a really fun week of voice lessons, so I have had a lot of fun. All right, let's see. Oh, here's a little announcement. This is from earlier. It was a question, but then below that, I had my first super chat this week. So, yay, that was so fun. And thank you, Todd, for the super chat. That was literally like the highlight of my life. That's never happened to me before. So, really, really fun stuff. Yeah, practicing. That'll be coming out this week. Singing goals. What are your singing goals? If you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, it's my favorite productivity, I guess, genre book, self-help book, because it's pretty sciencey based and just really well written. It's not cringe. It gets to the friggin' point. I love that book. So in the beginning of my practice journal, I have a little quote from Atomic Habits, basically about how goals are important, but what's really beneficial is to have a system in place to achieve that goal that you're after. So, if you want to have a better tone in your voice, what's the system you have in place to improve your tone? Do you know what to do? And that's kind of where I come in. And that's why warm-ups are important. So, no, not everybody warms up all the time. A lot of people skip their warm ups. Totally get it. Totally get it. But a really important thing that warm ups do, and let me know if you have a favorite warm up in the comments, but a big thing that warm ups do is train your vocal control and your muscle memory for singing so that it's easier to kind of click into a certain mode. So, for instance, if you want your tone to be more warm, like lifey, and you're doing moved out to a new city, and you're kind of pushing it, if you're doing those warm ups, that kind of exercise, for instance, you're getting used to clicking into that warm, round, open tone. So then you apply it to your singing. Moved out to a new city. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the idea. And when you sing, you are not going to sing in one mode the entire time, right? You don't hear someone like Christina Aguilera singing in one tone the entire time. She's singing in all of these different tones. Or think about like Annie Lennox. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to ooh, she was in her chest voice, and then she was in her head voice, and then she probably had maybe something in the middle in there, I'm sure. And Sweet Dreams, trying to think of a part she would have done that. Especially Chapel Roan is the example I always give because it's the I know you wanted me to stay, head voice. They can't ignore the crazy visions of me in LA, chest voice. And then the God, what have you done? You know, it's all three modes. So warm ups, exercises, training helps you control that. So even in one fell swoop, you might switch from head voice to mixed voice. And that's why gaining control over your jaw, your tongue, your vowels, all that stuff is so important. But once all that stuff becomes second nature, oh my gosh, it's so freeing. It's super duper freeing. And anyway, blah blah blah. But this is what we're talking about when we talk about like a practice journal. What are your goals? What are the warm-ups that are going to help that? So when I release this practice journal, I'll put some warm up thing options, and then you can sort of curate your own warm up. There's a caveat. Obviously, if I can't guide your selections, they're good. They're all good. And they're not really going to hurt, unless you're doing something really crazy. But they're all good, but I will say I do if you take a lesson or something with me or anyone, they're gonna try to tailor those warm-ups to your voice or your goals. All these aspects of your voice are important to develop, but if you do, for instance, if you do your warm-ups too spaciously when you're trying to learn how to belt, you do want some space. Oh, head voice, but you also or maybe you're focusing more on that stuff. So maybe you add more of that stuff than the stuff. If that made sense. I feel like that sounded crazy, but I don't know. Maybe you see what I'm saying. It's like you do want to curate your warm up so it makes sense for your goals. And then practice steps. I think singing is a little bit less directed usually than, for instance, learning piano. I mean, think about it. There's all these let's see if I have a book behind me. Oh, it might be in the living room. There's all these piano books you can get, but and there are singing books too. Again, one of my singing books is they're all in the living room right now. So I'm always flipping through them and stuff, but there aren't as many singing books where you just go through the book because everyone's voice is so different, obviously. So that makes it challenging. But there are steps that you go through in order. And I really try to emphasize that, but it's very hard as singers to break stuff down and do one thing at a time, right? Because we can just sing it. I'm just going to sing through the song. That's what most of us do. We just kind of sing through stuff. But there are practice steps you can follow that are like tried and true. Tried and true. But it's just like anything, anytime you do something broken down like that, slowing it down like that, ooh, it's a little boring sometimes. It can be boring, just like learning any skill and anything like that. One thing I'm really happy about in my practice journal is that I am putting a little section where you can log how you're feeling that day. And that's important. If you're playing an instrument, it doesn't really matter too much how you're feeling that day. I mean, I guess it does, but your voice being part of your body, it does matter because if you're fatigued, that's going to impact your instrument. Whereas if you're fatigued vocally, that's not going to really affect your guitar playing. I mean, if you hurt your finger or something, that's going to affect playing your instrument. But you know what I mean? Like your voice is going to fluctuate. Some people's voices fluctuate more than others. Let me know if your voice fluctuates a lot. I have to say, since moving to the South, where it's like so humid, it's way too humid. It's gross, but it has been very beneficial for my voice. So some people have more sensitive voices, something to take into account, something I yap on about quite a bit. Anyway, but if you have any questions at all about singing, that's what I'm here for. Fire away. I'd love to know what you're wondering. I'm kind of surprised that no one's asked anything. Um, but Callie is swooping in. Hey, girl. Okay. I'm a new singer and I do vocal warm ups daily, including warm ups specific for all my upper registers. But I find my upper register can sound raspy, hoarse, rough. Any suggestions on how to improve? Great question, Kelly. I think a lot of people are going to hear this and resonate with it. So, upper register can sound raspy. If your voice is raspy, first of all, I would try to figure out what is the cause, because anytime you have a exhausted voice, you want to understand why, and you also don't really want to sing on a raspy voice. You really don't. So if your voice is raspy or hoarse, that's you should probably rest instead. You should probably rest. If it's happening from speaking throughout the day or allergies or not getting enough sleep or medication, I'm not a doctor, but it can be so many different things. Okay, I will tell you this though. It might be from overuse. You might just be overusing your voice. Some people are just more sensitive to overuse than other people. You know, some people, they can just be screaming all day and they never lose their voice. You ever have a friend like that? They never get hoarse, and it's like, how do you not get hoarse? You are so loud. But some people, they don't have that kind of stamina. So I would get to the bottom of it. You only want to sing when you're feeling like you're not raspy, basically. When you're losing upper register notes and head voice, ooh, like I had a pretty big crack in there, that usually indicates your vocal folds are fatigued and they're a little swollen and you should probably rest them. I would look into the creak. So the creak is a great exercise. So doing that noise, yeah, it's weird, but that is a good exercise for kind of massaging the vocal, not massaging, but bringing them together, and it will relax those muscles here. But bring your vocal folds together. But you can also get pretty high with that sound. Anyway, I hope that helps. But let's get to the bottom of this raspiness, Callie. I'm like thinking it's just an overuse thing for whatever. You might be just overusing it in some way or another. Okay, we've got another question from Arlene. Love the questions, guys. Good night. I'm a beginner and I am stuck in singing from my throat. How can I overcome this? Really good question. This is also, the creak is also good for this. That creaky noise. But typically what's happening is you're not adjusting from your lower range to your middle range in a way that in the right spot. So when you sing in your lower range, you can have that lower resonance where it kind of feels like talking. Hey, hey, I heard that you've. Okay, well, at some point, you're going to have to switch modes. So as you're going to find, there's at some point you cannot use that heavy sound. And there's a couple of different ways to do this. So you could slide, Arlene, just slide, and you'll feel it. As soon as the voice flips, cracks, or like changes, that's where you're going to want to switch your technique. So you're going to want to ease up on the gas. So instead of and trying to use more pressure, more intensity as you go higher, it's counterintuitive. You want less pressure, less breath pressure, less intensity. And you can think of it as like either going up and doing sort of a whiny sound, or you could think of it as a hooty sound. So, they're both achieve the same kind of thing. They're both switching to your high voice instead of your low voice, but that change has to happen, and the change is less push as you get to a certain note. It's going to happen probably sooner than you think. Most people, they can swing, singing with a heavy sound pretty high. But if it feels like shouting, or if you feel anything in here, like really feel it, like it doesn't feel great, then that means that you need to lighten up a little bit. Sing lighter and maybe do exercises that are for either head voice or mixed voice. Slides are really great for that, or doing descending. So meow, 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 or ah, doing vowels like ooh, because of the way the shape of the vowel being so like round, it'll lift your soft palate a little bit. Here's a little diagram of that O shape will just, these aren't great diagrams to look at what I'm talking about, but the idea is, creating that space. Anyways, I hope that helps. Let me know. Let me know. Love the questions. Hello, how are you today? Hey, Alexandro, thanks for popping in. Great to see y'all. I'm doing pretty good today. The dog food was delivered, so that was great. Anyway, if you have any other questions about singing, though, guys, these are some really good ones. A lot about tension or feeling a little vocally tired happens to the best of us. Happens. But my last video on mixed voice, good. My last video on mixed voice might also help with that, because there's a lot about how to sing with this lightness, and I just say it so many times that it might, and I do a lot of modeling in that last video. Not modeling, but like I demonstrate the songs in a lot of different songs. I had a student today who said, oh, I like that video because you showed the different songs, and I was so glad she told me that, because sometimes I'm like not exactly sure the best way to show y'all stuff, but I think through songs is good, right? So in the video, there's also like a playlist for mixed voice songs that I find really great for finding your mix. Songs like by Bruno Mars. So when he goes, talking to the moon, or that's kind of hard, but what's the one? Hold your hand and dancing. Everything he does is very and almost whiny sounding. That's helpful for finding that mixed voice. Or if we're talking about musical theater and Disney songs are very mixy. So if you kind of take a page out of that book and go, waving through a window, or let it go, perfect girl is gone, I don't care. If you can kind of mimic that bright sound in a very gentle way, as long as you do it in a gentle way, you might unlock your mixed voice. It's typically a little challenging at first, but as long as it's gentle and speaky, that's the idea. But anyway, so if you have any requests on videos regarding a certain style or a certain thing you're trying to achieve, like, I don't know, vibrato or a warm tone or whatever it is, let me know. Maybe I can make a video about it and attach some sort of playlist with songs that would help with that. I don't know. Let me know if that would help. But seemed to be a good move, I guess. Anyways, great questions, guys and gals, everyone. If you have any other questions, let me know. I would love to answer your singing qualms. But yeah, it's been great in the studio. As I kind of talked about earlier, some new faces. If you do want to take a voice lesson with me, I have room. Wednesdays, I have quite a few bi-weekly students. So that's just a kind of like a coincidence. So if you are interested in something like that, Wednesday would be a great day for that. And I have a lot of like midday my time. So if you're across the pond, midday, like UK, I don't know, midday would probably be good. Wednesday, my midday, I think that's afternoon for you. Yeah, afternoon for you, earlier in the day, afternoon for you. That would be good if you're across the pond or if you're Eastern time, whatever. And I'm Central time. Anyway, so Wednesday's pretty open and Tuesdays has some openings. But I do make exceptions. So if you're like, I can only do weekends, we'll find something at least for temporary just to kind of get you in the door and like get some coaching or whatever. Just let me know. Just let me know. That's how you do it, oliviapeck.com, and I'll answer all your singing qualms and questions. But another thing that I like to do for students too is I'll make y'all a whole playlist of songs that fit your voice. I think fit your voice, and that will help you with your singing goals. Kind of going back to the whole practice system. Sometimes we'll work on songs that maybe you don't ever want to sing live, but it might help you with a certain technique. So that's a fun thing. And a lot of singer-songwriters will take lessons and they'll kind of flip-flop between singing covers and singing their own stuff. And I like to help people with improv. So if you're doing some improv on your songs, scatting or just not scatting, but any kind of improv, or I'll help y'all with melodies sometimes where when you're writing a melody, it's one thing to write it in your style, and then it's another thing to write it for your voice. And if you are looking for changing a melody, that's what we work on sometimes as well. Like, okay, how are we going to fit this in your voice, or is this in the right key? A lot of singers will write in the key, in not necessarily a key that fits their voice. And that's just a challenging thing to do, is to find what key you should sing a certain song in. And it's hard to find songs, even if you're not, writing them, what songs you should sing. So what my favorite thing is, this is fun, is when I have a student who appears to have a very low voice or a very high voice, but then once they start taking lessons, this whole other register opens up. That'll happen a lot, and that's really fun and exciting. And it's like all of a sudden you have a huge range. So that's really fun. That happens where wow, we have to like do a reassessment because it's like a different voice now. It's really fun. Anyway, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I don't know how much longer I'll stay on, but I really want to answer y'all's questions if you have them. So please feel free. Any question is great. Anything about music, singing, music related, performing, even acting. If you have questions about acting, film, anything like that, I am here for you if you have any questions. And if you're watching this at a later time, you can ask in the comments and I'll answer next time. I usually go live every Thursday-ish. Sometimes I'll like skip a week if I'm filming or whatever. Last week I had a commercial filming, and so couldn't jump on with y'all, but that was fun. So yeah. Yes. Anyway, look out for that next video. It's going to be on practicing, and it'll coincide with a practice journal, and you'll be able to download it on my website. So that'll be really fun. It should come out Monday. Monday is the day. So that'll be really, really great to have a resource for you guys, a little guide. And in the practice journal at the beginning, there's also going to be a little glossary sort of terms. And let's see what's in the glossary. I'll tell you what. Let's see what's going to be in it. Okay. So it'll have basically a breakdown of what different types of warm-ups do, so you know why you're doing certain warm-ups. And then it'll have how to make notes in your music. So, how do I write that in my music? Or your lyrics, whatever. It's, by the way, it's designed for people who can't read music. So, kind of cool. All right. Here's a good question. Martian Murray. Is acting easier than singing? That's a really good question. I would say that anything that you want to do really well is difficult. It's like, to be a decent singer might not be impossible, but being a really good, versatile singer is challenging. Same with acting. So, being able to be in front of a camera and play a character similar to yourself is not impossible. You can get there, but being a versatile actor that's really good and believable in lots of different roles and doing all sorts of things on camera, that's different. So, I would say they both have a similar point where you have to really let go. That's something I've noticed in every art form that I've been involved with, whether it's acting or singing or I guess even dance. It's like you have to really learn the rules first, like really well. Like you have to understand how to break down a script or break down a song or your voice or understand yourself as an actor. And then once you really have a like you're really confident in yourself in that craft or whatever, that's when you're a little bit more free. And then you're on the next level, if that makes sense. I feel like they're both just really hard. I think they're both hard. I will say though, when I was in school, and I was really struggling vocally because my voice was really overused and I got uh, laryngitis a lot. I was in a play and then I didn't have to sing. And I felt like acting was definitely easier than singing because, at least with acting, yes, you rely on your voice, but doing something like opera is very athletic. And so it just kind of depends, I guess, to answer your question. But in that sense, I was like, wow, I don't even have to worry about my voice. I'm just acting. Um, it's just seemed easier. But then crying on camera with the camera really close to your face, that's not easy at all. For a lot of people, if you're not one of those people that just automatically cries on cue, if you have to kind of learn how to do that, then it's a pain, I would say. I don't like to do movies where I'm, like, really upset all the time. I'd rather do comedy, but, you know, any kind of acting is great. It's fun, it stretches you and everything. I feel like I went on a tangent, but yeah, good question. If there's any other actors in the watching or in the chat, let us know. All right, guys, great questions. I really love this. This was a fun live, and I'll see you next time. If you want to join the Facebook group, ask me about the Facebook group. It's should be in the description. If you just want, it's pretty small. It's not a huge Facebook group, but if you want to just be in touch on Facebook, I post the lives on there, and then I also post little articles and stuff every once in a while. And then sometimes a student or someone will post something that they think is funny or question, and it's just a great way to be in touch outside of the world of YouTube, although we all love YouTube, right? All of yeah. And I didn't put this banner on the whole time. Cool. All right. Well, it's been really fun talking to you all about singing. If you have any other burning questions, this is the last call for questions. I'd love to hear from you, but otherwise, I'll be on my merry way. Okay? And next week, I think there shouldn't be any issues. I think next week I will be back. So if you think of anything, leave them in the comments. I'll answer next time on the live. And look out for the next video on practicing. So, yeah, bread in a pan. Wait, any questions? Bread in a pan. Really good handle, by the way. That's a good one. Any questions about singing? Oh, I'll wait 60 seconds because it's on slow mode. Just got to put the chat on slow mode sometimes. Yeah, but maybe I'll make it back to normal because seems like everybody's asking singing questions, so that's very good. Yes. Talked about a lot of different stuff today. This is good, y'all. Good, good, good. And my dog didn't even bark. I had an emergency video because to play when, if my dog started barking. Yeah. Very serious. Anyways, okay. Has it been 60 seconds? I don't know. Anyway, I'll wait for your question, bread in a pan, for a hot minute. But yeah, look out for that video on practicing. That'll be really fun. Dude, it's gonna be like a full voice lesson in a video. I literally go through everything I can possibly think of in terms of the practicing process. There is one thing in the video that I think that I would change. I mean, I'm editing it right now, but there's this part where I'm talking about resonance, and I say that you should have a warm up for resonance, and it's kind of also tied in with mixed voice and nasal versus oral twang. That's a lot of things to cover in one warm up, but I was trying to cover a lot of different. Anyways, if you have a question about it, let me know when I put the video out. Okay. I'm having trouble singing in mixed voice. I usually sing in head voice, but I just make it stronger. It still sounds too breathy or weak. I'm a man and can't hit the notes in golden. Is golden a song? But it's breathy. Oh, bread in a pan. This is a really common issue, and I feel you. So when you sing in mixed voice, there's a few things you're going to do differently than when you sing in head voice. Okay. So it's an adjustment. If you're used to singing in head voice, then there's things you're going to do differently, and you have to kind of get used to this feeling when you sing in mixed voice that can at first feel very weird. First of all, when you sing in mixed voice, it's not going to sound to you very nice. It might sound kind of flat or boring, but the idea is less breath. So when you use head voice, your soft palate is lifted. There's a little bit more space. So you need more breath. But when you sing in mixed voice, it's much closer to talking. If you were to hear me go, oh, hi, that's mixed voice, as opposed to, oh, hi. If you can figure out how to speak hi, basically, then great, because it functions the same way as speaking, basically. You do not need to access head voice to sing high. A whine also accesses high notes, even though you're not lifting the soft palate quite as much. If you can find a noise, like a creaking noise or a whiny noise or meow, if you can find a noise where you are able to access head voice or mixed voice or a song, even if it's just one moment where you're like, yes, that's the mixed voice, really leverage that, pay attention to that, lean into it, repeat it, like really get used to that and see if you can transfer it to multiple notes, basically. Mixed voice is so individual in terms of what works for people because, for instance, when I do the that for me did not help me find my mix, even though it seemed like everybody was saying, oh, that's the one to do. But for me, it was not helpful. So it's kind of figuring out what's the exercise or the noise that helps you feel like you're in a mix, I guess. So kind of play around, basically, is what I'm saying, and find one that you like. Golden. Oh, okay. It's a high song. Okay. I can sing the highest note powerfully, but Some of the notes feel so weird breathy. My notes at C5 and above are strong, mixed below that note. So it's probably because the ones below C5 are kind of in your break. So what you're going to want to do is ease up on the gas. So I'll show you what I mean. All right. So equivalent in my voice would be like, okay. That's the zone kind of equivalent in my voice, I would think. Hear how it gets a little weaker. So the trick is to use less breath pressure. So maybe sing quieter. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but using less breath pressure helps those vocal folds kind of vibrate in the way we want them to for mixed voice. And if you can kind of do that little, but it's very gentle at first. And then once you find that pingy, clear, mixy sound, you can start to add a little bit more pressure, but it's less about the power and it's more about kind of creating the illusion of power. So when you're listening to my voice go, it sounds louder than it actually is because I have a microphone. It's just because it cuts through so much because it's so pingy. But really, I'm not singing loud at all. Like that's probably more accurate to the actual volume. It's very quiet. So once you kind of find that placement, as they say, you can beef it up a little bit more. But first, you have to find it, I guess, and get used to that feeling. Some people say it feels like this shape. That's what they say. That's how they describe the sensation. If you can make that door creak sound, that's my favorite. It's like a that sound. If you can do that, I mean, that's essentially the sensation you'll feel. I hope that helps. Is so hard to, without hearing you, because you could be doing something that's getting in the way. Like you could be using too much nasal. You could be, oh, there's Tony going barking. It could be, you're just using too much breath or you're taking too deep of a breath. Yeah, I would say it does feel more like vibrating than airy. Yeah, feels like, yeah, like it's vibrating. That's a good way to describe it, I would say. Oh gosh, my dog's barking, so I have to go, y'all. But great question. Come here, Tony. Great questions, and I hope to hear from you again, Bread in a Pan. Let us know how it's going next time. Leave us some comments because now I'm invested in your mixed voice journey. Or y'all know you can sign up for a lesson, but or send me a voice memo. That's on the website as well. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go walk Tony. But thank you for coming, and I've loved this live. So appreciate y'all, and see you on the next one. Bye.